and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So this is another good piece of news. So voters around the U.S. have approved local police reform measures. Good stuff all the way through. I'm going to go through this. Voters in at least 6 states overwhelmingly approved police reform measures on election day, reflecting a growing demand for greater law enforcement accountability after the death of George Floyd, a black man who died in Minneapolis police custody. Creating and strengthening police oversight boards, changing departments and staffing and funding levels, and allowing greater public access to body and dashboard camera recordings were among the measures approved by voters around the country. In Portland, Oregon, where police protests have been ongoing since Floyd's death in May, over 80% of voters passed a Measure 26 Measure 26 217, which amends the city's charter to create a police oversight committee. Now, we've talked about this before, but it gets good. That would have the power to investigate the use of deadly force and allegations of misconduct by officers. The key is that the board has the power. The big thing is these accountability boards all across the U.S. are all advisory. Hey, Mr. Sheriff, we think this guy shouldn't have killed this guy. Can you take care of it? I'll think about it. These are much more, we have some issues, then we're going to address them. And we have some power, which is good. Where were we? Okay. The committee would have the power to discipline officers for wrongdoing. That's really big. That's what we've been asking for out of these boards for a very long time. And by the way, it's like the amount of people that have been like, no, you can't do that. That's literally how the military operates. It's run by civilians. So why can't the police, which is just a little military, run by civilians? I don't know. Makes sense to me. Anyway, so clashes in Seattle where protesters set up an autonomous zone from police over the summer was a likely impetus in King County, Washington, to pass several reform measures. By the way, so I heard from all the people on Fox News and Friends that Chaz was useless and wouldn't accomplish anything, but it seemed like the pressure of it existing led to reforms. What a surprise! People doing something consistently over time. Looks like it works. So they passed several reforms, including establishing a civilian-led Office of Law Enforcement Oversight, which would have legal authority and subpoena power to examine officer misconduct, which passed with more than 82% of the vote. Seems pretty popular to me. King County voters also approved a charter amendment that would require a special inquest into killings by law enforcement and a mandate that a public attorney be provided to represent the victim's family. I think this is really good specifically because you have the right to an attorney just the same way you have the right to a Lamborghini. Doesn't mean you can afford it, especially if you're dealing with funeral costs, everything else. So I love the fact that they mandated a public attorney. Now, I want to make sure that that's not like the same way mandated. It is not 5 minutes, but a full case. But that's good. I'll take it. Similar measures to approve independent oversight boards were passed in several California jurisdictions, including San Francisco, Oakland, and Sonoma County. San Diego voters approved Measure B, creating an independent commission on police practices to investigate misconduct complaints and in-custody deaths using subpoenas. Another good thing. Look at that. This is good news. I like this. I'm happy with this story. Let's continue. As votes continued to be counted Wednesday in Philadelphia, voters in Pennsylvania, voters in Philadelphia appeared to be favoring the creation of a citizen police oversight committee to replace its police advisory commission, which had been heavily criticized for its ineffectiveness in police accountability because, as I mentioned before, having advisory power doesn't mean anything. I mean, imagine if police, like, you know what we say to police? Hey, you don't have guns anymore. You don't get to hit people. You have advisory power now, and see them say that's fair. Okay. Also appearing headed for approval in Philadelphia was a proposal to add language to the city's charter calling on the police department to, quote, eliminate the practice of unconstitutional stop and frisk consistent with judicial precedent. Good. The thing that's already illegal is now being more strongly worded. I'll take it. Voters in Akron, Ohio approved a charter amendment requiring that records from police body and dashboard cameras be released to the public in use of force cases resulting in death or serious injury unless prohibited by state or federal law. This is good because it's basically like an opt-in, opt-out provision. Instead of having to figure out what the thing is, file a Freedom of Information request, being specific enough, sending enough of them in, getting something back, and then getting the information. If it's like okay, here's a database where this is available or something of that nature, even if it's behind a little bit of you have to be a lawyer or something, that's better. It's much better. I mean, we're going from medieval to Renaissance, so I'll take it. In Los Angeles County, voters approved a measure that would require the county to spend at least 10%. I love this one. 10% of its annual general fund budget, or an estimated $360 million, on alternatives to incarceration, such as job training. Thank you. Substance abuse programs and mental health treatment. That is really wonderful. I love that they're moving that amount of budget, because we've learned over the summer that about 50% of municipal budgets are police and police services. So that's like 20%, unless they're doing some weird accounting trick like they did earlier. I'm not that familiar with it. You guys can let me know on that one. But in San Francisco, voters passed an amendment that would remove mandatory police staffing levels from the city's charter. I suppose that's sort of just that they don't have a mandatory level. I don't know. I haven't thought about that before. Not all jurisdictions decided to take a step back. Sadly, I have some Illinois news in this.
Oh no! What's the sad news? Because why do I have a feeling that we're going to be talking about our own hometown?
We are.
Oh boy!
In DuPage County, Illinois voters backed a measure to keep law enforcement and public safety at the top of the budgeting priority.
Okay, top budget priority. All right, understood. Oh
That's
boy!
it.
And here's another thing too, because we talked about this last time. Few months ago, Mayor Lightfoot against the universal basic income, Mayor Lightfoot against defunding the police, Mayor Lightfoot all on board for that police academy. The municipal election cycle can't get here fast enough, because Mayor Lightfoot has definitely made it very clear that she is all for locking down the city, raising up the bridges, and doing so much more, all the while ignoring the fact that people in this city right now, just focusing on Chicago, people are just struggling day by day. It wouldn't be something if we actually had resources for our communities, but I guess not. Other states will do that. Other townships will.
Those resources and are hitting them with big sticks.
Oh,
so
thank you for the correction, Daniel. So yes, this is the problem we have to deal with, and if we are going to be fighting for the better future, we cannot afford to go to brunch. Don't go to brunch. Don't fall asleep. As soon as you do, we're going to be right back at square one all over again, but that's the neoliberal agenda.